So, good afternoon, and welcome to our second episode of the Butterfly Effect. Today's special guest is Amy Aldrich of the Amy Aldrich Agency. So, let me just fill you in and give you a little bit of background about Miss Amy today. She is the owner of the Amy Aldrich State Farm Agency here in Glenville, New York, where she's celebrating her 13-year in business on June 1st. So, congratulations, that's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you.
And during those 13 years, Amy has grown a profitable multi-line agency, realizing an average growth of 10%, which is another huge accomplishment. She's earned several distinctions, including the Chairman's Circle, Ambassador Travel, and Mutual Funds Leader. Prior to opening the agency, she had a 14-year career within State Farm, holding mid-level management positions that included HR manager and agency recruiting manager for the Northeast region. As a fun side note, she also managed a high-end jewelry store and was a customer service manager at a chocolate manufacturing company. Can't wait to hear more about both of those. And Amy's passion for giving back is pretty evident in her commitment to our community. She's held many positions, including past president and the executive board member of the Schenectady Kiwanis Club, treasurer of the Glenville Business Professional Association. Geez, I fumbled that one, huh? Glenville Small Business and Economic Development Committee member and co-chair of the Burnt Hills Boston Lake Bond Referendum Committee. And I know that's a hot topic still. Amy's also very involved in the local schools where she teaches driver's ed, financial management, and entrepreneurial classes. She was recently awarded the Volunteer of the Year at the Burnt Hills Boston Lake High School. Some fun facts about Amy. This first one is pretty shocking to me, that you've been married to Bruce for 30 years. Gosh, we don't look more than 25, right? Maybe 29. And they have two loving and accomplished children, Haley, who is 20 and is an absolute doll, I must tell you, and Dylan, who's 18, and I'm sure he's an awesome kid as well. And Amy's real passion is spending time with her kids and traveling. So, anything else you want to tell us about yourself, Amy?
Wow, I think you covered it, Kim. Thank you. First of all, I'm honored to be here and really excited to spend some time with you and talk to folks in our community. 30 years of marriage on New Year's Eve, which is amazing. And we got married on a blue moon, which is kind of a cool note. And of course, my first and foremost role and the one that I love the most is being mom of those two phenomenal kids. So, I'm originally from Pittsburgh. I'm a big Steelers fan, so I'll add that in there. And I just want to get out there at the beginning. My mantra is, if someone else has done this and survived, so can I. And that really started when I was getting ready to deliver Haley, and I just have adopted it, and I use that anytime I'm facing something and just want to go for it.
That's a great one. That is a really good one. So who inspired you when you were young? Did you have any one inspiration or several?
I really did. It was my great aunt. So it was my mom's older sister. And for those of you who are old enough to remember the movie Auntie Mame, there were a couple iterations. She was kind of my Auntie Mame. So she was born before the turn of the 20th century. She was born in the late 1890s, which is really cool. And she was a career woman. She never had kids, but she worked for the old AT&T company. Her husband was the owner of the first Buick dealership in the city of Pittsburgh, but she was widowed pretty young. So she just really lived life to the fullest. She was pretty eccentric in her clothes. Like, she had one of those long cigar holders that she used to, or cigarette holders.
Love it.
She had the cat glasses. Of course, she drove around the biggest Buick that there was at the time, because it was still a family-owned business. And she had a cool house. It wasn't big, but she had a mural on her kitchen wall, I remember. And she had an elevator that went from her one-car garage up to the main level. Just a really neat lady. She traveled the world, and she collected really wonderful things, including some of that great furniture. And a lot of that I have and cherish to this day. She was a member of many women's organizations and service organizations. So the first time I ever heard the word chiroptomist, I was really young because she was a chiroptomist. She treated me when I was in high school to a trip to Europe, and she also gave me my first car. And her philosophy was, I want you to be able to enjoy this while I'm here to see you enjoy it and enjoy it with you. So, she was a great example for me of being an independent woman, someone who had a career, and that she taught me that sharing what you have is much more gratifying than what you have. She also told me and taught me that travel is an amazing experience to really embrace and just take adventure in your life. And she taught me to have some style. Whatever that style means to you, just have some style and own it and make it your own. And I will tell you, as a young woman, I was sitting holding her hand on her bed, just the two of us, when she passed. And she just means the world to me and was a great influence on my life.
That is such an amazing story. Like, I don't know what's the cooler part of it, the cool glasses, the a long cigarette, or being born before the turn of the century. Like, that's all so cool. It's great that you had those memories. That's just amazing. So let's just fast forward a little bit. So you started working for corporate State Farm. And how did you transition into saying, I want my own agency, I can do this? What was that prompting?
So, worked for State Farm. As you mentioned, I worked in the fine jewelry industry, the chocolate manufacturing industry, and insurance. I worked for Blue Cross and Blue Shield for a little while. And then I work for State Farm. And State Farm, as you get promoted, you get transferred. So I saw that it was such a phenomenal company, and I didn't want to continue to start my career over when we moved. So I joined State Farm, and I started in the auto claims department, learned a lot about that, handled the injury and death claims. So lots of experience there. And then I went into HR because I had some prior leadership experience. Ended up being a mid-level manager, and actually led one of the very first virtual teams that was all over Pennsylvania, New York, and New England. That was the agency recruiting team. So my team and I recruited agents into this position as an independent contractor agent. And I was traveling when my kids were young. I was traveling 50 to 80 days. I was all over the place. Yeah. Never had an opportunity to really commit to the community. Certainly I wanted to be there with my kids. So I decided to take some of my own advice and become an independent contractor agent. I did that in 2008, right in the middle of the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. But I'm really thrilled to be involved in the community, to have been my kids, and to have grown a multi-million-dollar business throughout that time. So very proud of that.
It's a huge accomplishment, and you should be proud of that. So kind of rolling into that, how does your identity as a woman play a role in your industry? I mean, single women, career women, a little different than, most.
Absolutely. So, there are many successful women in the insurance industry, and many who have come before me. However, it hasn't been that long of a time. So I've had the honor and the privilege to have known some of those pioneer women in the insurance industry throughout my career. And although this is technically a sales job, it's really about compassion and caring for people when the worst happens to them. And women are very uniquely positioned to do that. Sometimes I say I'm an insurance agent, I'm a bartender because I listen to stories, I'm a counselor, I'm a pastor. I really get to know my customers and what they need, and then I'm there for them when something is. So again, women are very uniquely positioned for, but it's still a good old boys club. You know, there's still a lot of that. I do have a group of wonderful and supportive male peers that I hold very dear, and let my actions speak for me. I don't see anything other than a level playing field. It's all what you put into it and the hard work. I do have some fun with it sometimes. I remember there was a gentleman several years ago who visited agents' offices, and I was just getting to know him. He came in one day and he said, he told me about how he had just taken several of the local male agents out on a golf outing. And I was like, what the heck, So I just continued to give him grief over that. Well, lo and behold, he decided to become a State Farm agent. And who did he have to visit in the office? I host him as a trainee agent. And now he's out doing a wonderful job. He's very successful and he's great. We have a wonderful relationship, but I always just like to continue to give him that jab. Like, hey, why did you invite me to go golfing? What the heck? I golf. So.
Because you golf too good. So here's a question, because we're both moms of daughters of about the same ages. I think Haley's, just a little bit older than Em. But what advice would you give to your 21-year-old self, and how do you correlate that to your daughter? Just about things in general, life, career, school, relationships.
All those things. Several key points that I've reflected on. And one of them is, the first one, busy is not productive. So I think, I come from a time where you had to always look like you were busy. You had to be, doing this, that, and the other thing. Busy is not always productive. And, it's important to and take stock and take time for self-care. I know Kim talked about that on Tuesday. Super, super important. So I try now the best I can, and I keep falling back into old ways, but I try to model that for Haley and for others. The second is being an effective tasker is a myth, right? So being able to juggle everything, that's true, but you're more productive when you block time for certain things and you bring them to completion. And the last thing is, and this is an ongoing learning journey for me too, you can't make everybody happy, right? So do the right thing, act with integrity, truth, and grace, and you can sleep at night.
Very true. All of those are true. So you kind of just maybe have answered the next little question that we have is, what do you want other women to know? The self-care and the multitasking and, the busy thing are huge. Did you want to expand on any of those or add anything to that?
Yeah, there's some additional things that I would like to add to that. And one of the things I recently learned, so we all juggle with this thing called balance, right? Everyone has to try and balance work and family and all these things. And it's something that none of us think we do well. So I heard something years ago that just really, really resonated with me. And it is this: balance is not everything having equal attention. Balance is the ability to be able to find something that needs the most attention at the time, and then be able to refocus to the next thing when that needs your most, the most attention you can give to it. And that made me just sigh as relief, to be perfectly honest with you. It's something that I think we should all keep in mind when we're struggling with that, quote unquote work-life balance. So that's definitely one thing. As women also share, don't try to do things the way that men do them. Do things with a woman's touch. So when I started leadership a long time ago, the way to lead was through the command and control. And that I worked very hard to do that as a young woman who was managing people who are significantly older than me. And then I realized that doesn't work. So servant leadership and collaboration were the ideals that I took up, and that's the way the leadership world's now. But I would really just emphasize, do things with the woman's touch. And then the last thing I'd like to share that I've learned over my years and years is learn to effectively communicate. And as a woman, communicate with clarity, with conviction, and with compassion, right? So it's more important to listen and respond versus talk. And don't use compromising words like kind of or sort of if you're trying to be taken seriously or get your point across. Speak deliberately, and you will definitely have more street cred.
Great. So here's the fun question of the day. What interview question have you never been asked before, and what would your response be? Kim already took the toilet paper, which way it belongs, and
well, I have to answer that though. I have to answer Kim's interview question. Toilet paper must come off the top, in my opinion. So
correct.
I thought of another one, and it is, what was the first career aspiration you had when you were young? So that was actually a medical examiner. I used to watch Quincy MD, loved it, loved the whole medical piece of it, wanted to get into medicine, loved the investigative piece of it. So I worked really hard on that when I was in high school and all the way into college. And ended in my organic chemistry class. So, the lesson that I took from that is when life takes twists and turns, which it's do, you don't have to have a perfectly packed plan when you're young to lead a life of significance. And I think, especially today, young people think there's so much on them to know exactly what they want to do and to have this life plan. It's not necessary.
Correct. Absolutely. And I loved
Yes,
Quincy
set
MD too,
goals,
by the way.
have dream, but
That is awesome. So what is unique to you, like a special talent, or what excites you, or gets you out of bed in the morning?
so I threw this out to my husband and my son the other day. I said, Mom, you can fall asleep in the middle of any loud action movie every time. I think that's a great talent. I was like, okay, Dylan, thank you. Let's try again. So I am an extremely resilient person. I love change. I love to lead through change. I think that that's exciting. It's something that we all deal with change. Why not embrace it? And you don't typically think of an insurance agent as a risk taker, but I am absolutely a risk taker. I love to do crazy things. I've gone hot air ballooning. I've done bungee stuff. I am an extreme skier, or was. I want to skydive at some point. I've sort of put that on hold while my kids were growing up, but at some point I'll do that. And I can also ride a unicycle, which is kind of fun.
Oh. Well, we'll have to get a demonstration of that one day.
Him is next time. But I just also want to say the thing that excites me is people. Next generation is, they're wonderful. And those young folks that I missed growing have a passion and are first when it comes to advocacy for so many different causes. And they have this maturity about them that really is wonderful. And I just reach out to everybody and say, it's really, we need to help them harness that, because they truly are our future, but they really do excite me.
That's awesome. And you gave out a lot of really good advice already. Be busy. Being busy isn't always productive. Take stock and self care, compassion when dealing with people. And the best is you can't make everybody happy. And don't we know that? And a little bit about, communicating with people and how to be clear and concise. But what is the best advice that you ever personally received that sticks with you to this day?
The best advice that I ever received was from my dad, who I just lost in 2020. And he taught me how to shake hands. He taught me that a very firm handshake and to look somebody in the eye is the correct way to do it. And as a woman in business, I can't even tell you times people commented on my handshake. And it's really interesting because it's a way that you almost instantly earn trust and respect, especially when it comes to men. So I've taught my kids that. I've taught people who have worked with me or for me and whom I've mentored over the years how to properly shake hands. And obviously, we're not shaking hands at the moment and I cannot wait to do it again. It's just a really special way to connect with people. And it's a nice way to start off a relationship.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I would like to just say, from back to the mentorship piece, I have wonderful circles of women in my life. Some are career oriented, some are based from my high school years, and I've got my mom group, and I cherish every single one of them. I've been through so many things with these wonderful women, and all the emotions that come with them: joy, pride, fear, heartbreak, and we've all been there with and for each other as we've gone through these things. And the women that I hold dear to me are strong and passionate and loving, regardless of what their careers are. And as women, I think that it's super important that we all, you know, we're here in this together. And the last thing I just want to leave you with is, meet people where they are and leave them better than they were. And that will certainly leave you better than you were.
Absolutely. Those are great words, Amy. So, everyone, this was the second episode of our Butterfly Effect from Club 1888, which is an exciting new portion of our very own dear YW here in Schenectady. So, join us next Tuesday when we're going to have another exciting guest, and be on the lookout for it. If you're not following us on Facebook, please do that. Please put in the comments. We'd love to hear about it. And we know that you're really finding this really interesting and you want to be part of this great group. So let us know you want to do that too. And with that, we'll see you next week. And thank you so much, Amy, for your time and talents today.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you too. Namaste.